My Lords, I rise with great pleasure to follow the noble Lord, Lord Whitty, who's very powerfully and clearly introduced this group. And I would say that I will offer the Green Group support for Amendments 3, 51 and 61. And indeed, were we not in a state of continual juggling of different bills, I'm sure we would have attached one of our names to it. And I think particularly Amendment 3, which the noble Lord indicated was one he was likely to consider testing the opinion of the House on, I think it is a particularly important one in terms of considering the negative effects. And I'm influenced in that by a visit that I made yesterday to a village called North Ferriby, and a site that's threatened with the development of an enormous Amazon warehouse with very significant environmental effects, but also from those environmental effects, flow-on effects to people's lives and well-being, the absolute reverse of levelling up in terms of making people's lives much worse. And I think it's very clear that when we're talking about economic development, there's simply inadequate consideration of local environmental effects, but also those broader effects on the state of our world. However, I rise chiefly to speak to Amendment 5 that appears in my name, and rather than being something that's trying to stop damage, is something that really is trying to lead the government in a positive direction that could really help it to deal with some of the issues that is facing it very clearly today and indeed will be tackled by the Chancellor tomorrow. Amendment 5 is all about helping small-scale community energy projects to make a big impact in the energy system. Now, at committee stage, the noble Lord the Minister suggested that community energy is not in the scope of the bill, but I hope that we might see a broader response today and at least a positive response and an acknowledgement from the Minister that this is a huge lacuna in government policy that desperately needs to be filled. This amendment adds community energy to the list of circumstances where it may be used to determine a subsidy where the generator is a community energy project. Now, what we're seeing is the Rural Community Energy Fund is soon winding down despite its success, and the noble Lord the Minister and I, and in other contexts, have discussed the lack of any other community energy schemes despite the government's promises to deliver them. Now, you might ask, why would subsidies be needed? Well, the fact is, very often community schemes need early-stage seed funding to get them to the stage where they can actually seek investment. Without that, many communities desperately keen to set up their own scheme just are never able to get off the ground. What we're talking about are things like perhaps an electric car club where a community can generate its own energy. Indeed, I saw this in Stroud quite a few years ago, solar panels on the roof of the doctor's surgery that were actually powering a electric car club car, all of which had been supported by community investment run by the community, the nature of that project being chosen by the community. And it's clear that this can unlock more than £64 million in private capital investment. It's an incredible opportunity for public money to kickstart a community-led green revolution. Very importantly, when we think about the levelling up agenda, this means communities that have money can put it into their local community and get the money back circulating round in this community. This is a very cost-effective way of unleashing the possibility for many new green jobs. Now, what I'm not expecting today, I understand, is that this amendment is going to pass, but there's a huge opportunity here. And I think it's very clear that the crisis that the government is facing, the cost of living crisis, the concern, particularly in the context of the tragic situation in Ukraine about energy self-sufficiency, there is energy all around us. Energy from the sun, energy from the wind, energy of people within communities who are desperate to help tackle the climate crisis and meet the needs of their own communities. Let's make sure that we have a subsidy scheme that can support all of that energy, physical and human, and put it to good purposes to improve the lives of us all and our environment.